Hello and welcome everyone, I am Madals. I am going to be casting some Heart of the Swarm today as per usual, and it is going to be a PvZ. So in the top right position, as the red Zerg player on Cloud Kingdom, we do have MaFia. And his opponent down in the lower left as the blue Protoss, it is for Neurosoft, Welmu. PvZ is a great matchup, I really like it. It's changed quite a bit actually, just due to the Protoss player being able to be slightly more aggressive without being all in. I think that's the best way to sum up actually Protoss as a whole in Heart of the Swarm. Is the Mothership Core just allows you to go for some aggressive pushes without having to completely commit to it. So that is always good to see. Welmu going to be going for the forward fast expansion, maybe Nexus first. Meanwhile MaFia, it should be a pull into a relatively quick hatch and a third base at between anywhere between, well, 3 minutes 50 and about 4 minutes 50 is very viable. So Extractor Trick going down because the Overlord was on 10, not on 9, makes you look about 5% cooler than if you just do it on 9, but still, whether it gives a benefit or not, there are multiple people who will argue both ways, but again, it's fine, it doesn't matter, it's early game. So, Probe coming in, making sure there's no 6 pull or anything like that, because it is a ladder match, and therefore you never know. It could be anything, and anything is indeed quite scary, because until you know what something is, you cannot prepare appropriately for it. Welmu is up to 150 minerals now. Hasn't chucked down the forge, is going to be a Nexus first. That was another reason why he's gone for this fast scout off, just to make sure that he can get away with doing that. So let's talk a little bit about mid game and what these two could be doing while we're watching this probe perilously try and take out a drone. Mid game for Welmu, I would say, can be split up into really 3 main categories now in Heart of the Swarm. Step 1, or option 1, air, be it Oracles, Phoenix, anything like that, so Stargate openings. Option 2 is to go for a big gateway push, and that is anything from about a 5 to 8 gate, including things like Blink potentially, including DTs or whatever kind of gateway pressure you want to put on. And then option 3 is just a bit of fake pressure in order to secure a third base exceptionally fast. It's what Whiteware does, for example, against Zerg. And those are the 3 main options. The reason I haven't included a Mortal Sentry all-in is because, to be honest, I haven't actually seen it that much because it is an all-in. Protoss players have options with the Mothership Core that they don't feel the need to go for it, as far as I've been seeing. So, therefore, I think once you establish that those are the 3 main things you can do, the Zerg response is really quite simple. If you see air, chuck down Spore Crawlers. If you see a quick third base, it's probably the biggest decision to make is that, well, the ground push is dealt with very similar how you deal with an Immortal Sentry all-in. You just get some units out, get some Spine Crawlers out. The difference is you're probably not going to kill it, and you're just really surviving, because whereas in Wings of Liberty, if they were to come and push in with an Immortal Sentry all-in, if you killed the Immortal Sentry all-in, 9 times out of 10, as long as you didn't lose your hatchery, you would just move on and you would actually just win the game in a counter push. Whereas with the Mothership Core, if they mass recall, they've still got units. You've really just got behind in the drone, so you have to take a quick fourth and it tends to go to a macro game. The final option is if they take a greedy third, and that's really where you get a choice. Greedy third bases, you can either try and punish them with a big Roach Ling push or Roach Hydra or something like that, or alternatively, you can just out-expand them. Those are the real options as a Zerg player. Swarm Host's very good as well. Swarm Host Corruptor, a great composition in the mid-game for Zerg. You've also got the option of things like Roach Hydra into Viper. That's great. Blinding Cloud, good against a lot of the Protoss forces. And so is Abduct, actually, for picking up those Colossi and pulling them into your Roach Hydra force. But now I've given a quick rundown of essentially everything that we could realistically see at this stage. Let's just actually take a look and see what these two may be doing. So, we've got the Cybercore on its way down. That is all fine looking. No upgrades coming down from the Forge, though. That's something that this Overlord should be spotting. It's something that you definitely want to know, because this gives away that actually it could be a very, very quick Stargate or something like that. There is nearly enough gas for it. We've got the Zealot trying to push back the Zerglings, really, retake the Watchtower, try and hide some vision. The Overlord sitting here as well for MaFia. He's got a great amount of vision going on of just what his opponent has. This pylon probably going to be the one that gives away the key tech, I would imagine, unless it's going to be this one in the very corner, but we'll wait to see. Gas is coming in quite smoothly. A third gas being taken now, so that is going to be quite a gas-heavy build. Meanwhile, for MaFia, no gas as of yet, just getting these 2 down now at around 45 supply, which is very normal, getting the double gas there. So everything looking fine for him. Needs to make sure that he keeps the map control, though, because otherwise you might get caught off guard. Sees the Stalker coming out, and we've got a Twilight Council, so most likely this is going to be a really cool build where you get a Mothership Core out, usually between 4 and 6 gates of Blink Stalkers, come into the third and just harass. And it's what I was saying earlier as well, that it's not all in, because you've got the Blink Stalkers for a start. You can deal some nice damage, and if you get surrounded by Speedlings, which is your only real threat, roaches you can take head on, you just mass recall. Only if you get surrounded and you can't get out, and then you take very little damage and force an awful lot of units. The other option, of course, with the Twilight Council is that potentially if Blink doesn't get started, it could be DTs. That is a viable alternative to Blink Stalkers, but we'll wait to see what it's going to be. It should be one of those two things, unless, of course, Welmu is going for something crazy. Meanwhile, the Stalker's just still coming up, still prodding, poking, generally being annoying. The Mothership Core is out somewhere, I'm sure. Where is it? There we go. It's already way ahead of where I thought it was. Mothership Core is built so quickly, and it will be Blink. So this is now really quite a simple thing to do. How do you deal with this as Zerg? Speedlings. That is how you deal with it. You need quite a few of them. Get some good surrounds. Try and flank. So again, you want some Speedlings positioned around here as well as up here. A couple of Spine Coolers doesn't go amiss either, because as a Zerg player, if you lose this third base, you're in serious problems. We see now roaches are coming down. They're going to try and do some nice damage. They will tank up quite a bit of damage, but Blink Stalkers going to annihilate roaches, let's face it. And as we can see, this is just a good amount of aggression. Those Stalkers do have to be a little bit careful, though. The Queen is going to try and focus the Mothership Core, because this is another strategy that you can use as a Zerg player to really try and counteract this build. If you knock out the Mothership Core with the Queens, there's no mass recall, and it's suddenly a lot more all-in if you get surrounded. But we see the pylon is down here. A lot of Stalkers already out. Blink is half done. Still roughly a couple of, well, give or take about 80 seconds away, but quite a few roaches being knocked out. The Time Warp was used, and that means there's not enough energy for a mass recall. Only 40 energy out of the 100 required for it, so that is something the Welmu needs to take into account, that actually maybe I need to be a bit careful. Taking his third base behind this as well. So out expanding, out pressuring. It looks like he's actually going to bring off the pressure now. So forced quite a few units. What's that effect have on the worker count? 62 to 53. Nowhere near as far ahead as MaFia would like to be at the nearly 10-minute mark. Also forced a couple of Spine Crawlers, but seeing now that this is pulled back, has just cancelled them, so that's not a big loss either. Things really starting to level out, starting to literally be going into the later game, but what it has forced is MaFia to make these units. And all while there's not a push going on, or not counter-aggression happening, those units are wasted. They're not able to achieve anything other than killing a pylon. So their cost, their supply, the lack of drones that have come out of the fact that the lava have been used for these units, are all successful damage, or you can view them as damage done by Welmu's opening, because he hasn't really changed his economical stance. He's been getting up workers quite comfortably, he's got his third Nexus on the way, and there's no way MaFia can push into this army. With just Roachlings, in the numbers that he's got them in, this army will always win, especially the Mothership Core and the ability for a Photon Overcharge, etc. So, with all that, that's really what Welmu has hoped to achieve. His Mothership Core just happily chilling around up here. Will very shortly have enough energy for the Photon Overcharge as well, so the third can be held. There's a couple of cannons there. Hydrogen coming out though for the Zerg, and this does present the possibility of some aggression, because Roach Hydra, very powerful. We've got the +1 missile attack coming down as well, so MaFia really trying to piece together what he could want. Moving in with these Roaches needs to be very careful. Blink is done, so these Stalkers can even aggressively blink. Photon Overcharge being used maybe a little bit prematurely. It was a very early Photon Overcharge, so use that energy, maybe fearing a bit of a follow-up. But instead, MaFia going for all the layer tech. Got the Hydrogen, getting the Spire out, also getting the Infestation Pit. So it could be some Hydras in there, just in case he sees a lot of air. Could be Swarm Hosts as well. I don't think it'll be Infestors. They're really falling out of favour over Hydras and also Swarm Hosts. So that's fine. The Spire then for, if there is going to be Swarm Hosts out, will be for Corruptors, just to, again, deal with any air that could be coming. Muscular Augments is getting researched. That's a more aggressive stance, to be honest. If you get the Groove Spines for the range, you're being more defensive 9 times out of 10, because you're going to be engaging on creep speed. Fine. If you're going to be aggressive though, you need that Muscular Augments. And Hive getting started well, actually it's not that early. We're at 12 minutes 40. You don't realise how quickly time goes by when you get these more back and forth styles, especially when the Protoss isn't engaging you a lot. So what MaFia is doing now is getting down his fifth base, his fourth already secured. Welmu though taking his fourth, so they will be economically quite even. Zerg players obviously where he wants to be. Welmu though off of 3 bases, soon to be 4. It just has such huge production, +3 ground weapons already coming into effect, +1 carapace, and also +2 missile attack now on the way. So double upgrades for MaFia compared to just single upgrades Connor boosted for Welmu. So he's got the slight advantage at the moment, but that will go unless he keeps this up and keeps chrono boosting. But the Colossi, they're the real threat as they start to come out, their numbers start to climb. There is one out on the field now, and now Immortal is following up, so just a single Colossus actually isn't too much. And Overseer trying to get a good read of what's happening, not going to see the Robotics Bay though, I don't think. So as a result, there's no way that you know the Colossi are out until you see that, but the Overseer has managed to survive, so we'll come back, see the additional gateways, we'll now spot that Robotics Bay, and that's really important. The Observer being used just to push back the creeps, some hallucinated Phoenix getting the scout off. Welmu doesn't know about this top left base though. He's going to see the Spire morphing into a greater Spire, so knows Broodlords are very likely, sees the Hydra coming out as well, and as such, he should know how to deal with this. He should be prepared, getting the Stargate up, so that's really nice. His composition is really piecing together. Void Rays are great against Broodlords now, as long as you can deal with those Hydras quickly. But the Roach Hydra Force starting to move forward. MaFia is maxed out, so he can afford to start throwing away supplies, especially when he's got a lot of minerals and quite a bit of gas banked up. The single Colossus trying to do more damage. The Time Warp trying to prevent the escape, but MaFia does get away, loses quite a bit though. Not enough to really worry him though, he can easily remax that out. The greatest Spire, now 3/4 done. But look at this, a great attack angle by MaFia. He's looping those Roaches and Hydras from the back, complete surrounds Welmu, and Welmu is forced back into a tight little corner. Some good force builds though are allowing Welmu to manipulate this force into the way he wants it, and is holding off okay at the moment. The Colossus just managing to stay alive, did some great damage there on that Colossus. That is just allowing him to hold this off. So Welmu actually held that really quite well. We can see that he only lost about 3,000 resources to the 7,500 of the Zerg, but the Zerg has this 5th base up and running, so worker count wise they are actually equal. So undersaturated in a lot of these bases, the additional gas really the important thing for a Zerg at this point of the game, and that's what's going to allow us to see those Broodlords hitting quite early. And as a result, Welmu just has to work out how he's going to deal with it. He's getting a fleet beacon, a second Stargate up as well, in addition to the +1 air weapons. So upgrade wise, we're looking at 3-1 against 1-1. 2-2 is, well, +2 missile weapons just finished, +2 armor is about to be done, but that is still in Welmu's favour for the time being. And Welmu now, he's just trying to run these Zealots around. I'm going to go and check up to this base. We'll find it, and that means that it's a nice little target. The Corruptors are still trying to just chase down Hallucinated Phoenix, which is scouting, and that's something that Welmu has been doing very well, and is now getting out his Dark Shrine as well. Potentially for some Archons, some Tempest also coming into this composition. So very, very nice late game build out of Welmu. Not going full Sky Toss, which a lot of Protoss players are definitely favouring. Instead, just trying to build up his army gradually, be able to deal with most things a Zerg player can throw at him. This 6th base, really important. That's where MaFia really takes the economic lead, and something that will help him going into this late game. The Broodlords aren't really anywhere to be seen at the moment though. There's 12 Corruptors out, but they haven't started, meaning this really early Greater Spire. Okay, Broodlords has died now. That's always the way, isn't it? It's like it's a curse on casters that will say something like, "I wonder why you got that," and then didn't make Broodlords. Just as they make Broodlords, it makes you look so pro. That's what it is. Like, I was thinking about that, and then the player did it. Of course, it's a million times easier to predict what's happening in a game of StarCraft when you aren't having to worry about actually doing it, and you can just think objectively because units magically make themselves and upgrades spontaneously occur without you pressing any buttons. So, 6th base is going to get secured. The Broodlords are going to make sure that that is fairly safe. The Tempest starting to approach the opponent, trying to get into a nice position, but obviously they've got to be very careful because the Hydras could start eating away at things. Some Stalkers running to their death. Sees the Broodlords though, and knows that actually this is quite a sizable force coming right up next to me. Now I need to be a bit careful. The Tempest are very far forward. They need to get back, use their 15 range to their advantage. Trying to start knocking out those Broodlords. Of course, Tempest still 85 damage per hit to massive air units. So that is absolutely catastrophic to Broodlords. And as we're seeing, they are just nomming their way through the Colossi, dealing great damage to the ground army. The Broodlord count really starting to diminish. 4 Tempests are out. We can see that the Colossi still managing to stay up. All 4 of them at the back, just shredding through War of the World style. And this is going to force MaFia back in the moment, but a forward aggressive blink out of Welmu will allow him to get these last Broodlords, and that is exactly what he needed to do. The Colossi punching him from the back, and MaFia forced to GG out. That engagement went so heavily in Welmu's favour, just destroying all of that force. Great play by the Blue Protoss there. So, thank you everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, like the video, leave a cool comment, and subscribe because I get new games up daily, and you don't want to miss any of them. So I'll see you all tomorrow for yet another new cast. I was Madals, and bye for now.